Hook. Imagine a political feud so personal that it plays out on live TV 24/7, with the future of a presidency on the line. Today, we're diving into the Sara Duterte impeachment hearings and why this isn't just about one vice president, but about two dynasties, two visibilities, and two visions for a country that's watching closely. Context setup. The Philippines is watching a dramatic clash between the Duterte and Marcos camps. Sara Duterte, 47, faces impeachment over alleged misused funds and a provocative claim during a late-night livestream about harming key national figures. If convicted, she would be removed from office and barred from running again. This isn't just a legal process. It's a televised power struggle that could reshape the political landscape ahead of 2028. Main breakdown. Core idea 1. The impeachment mechanism and its stakes. Commentary. I think what matters here is how impeachment is designed to be a political test, not just a legal one. The House votes to send articles of impeachment to the Senate. Then the Senate, led by a diverse mix of political actors, acts as the jury. This matters because it reveals how accountability really works in a system where power is distributed across branches. What people don't realize is that the Senate's composition, nationally elected with its own agendas, can upend what appears to be a straightforward case of graft or words that cross lines. If you take a step back, this is less about the facts of the charges and more about whether a national consensus can be found to either discipline or shield a potential presidential successor. Personal interpretation. The process exposes the fragility of the alliance that once formed a dream team. If the Senate fractures along regional or factional lines, it signals a broader trend. Dynastic politics with built-in safety nets can still face meaningful checks. Why it matters? It sets a precedent for how future administrations might maneuver through impeachment, shaping how parties manage rivalries and preserve power. Bigger trend. The Philippines' democracy tests the durability of inter-party coalitions in era of media-driven narratives. Core idea 2. The dynastic narrative and shifting alliances. Commentary. What stands out to me is the arc from an almost mythic alliance to a bitter rivalry. The two families built a narrative of regional strength and populist legitimacy, then watched it fray as ambitions diverged. This isn't just about personalities. It's about how political brands survive when real-world governance clashes with campaign promises. A detail I find fascinating is how the public's perception of loyalty and betrayal shifts when the same actors flip roles, from partners to adversaries. Personal interpretation. The move from Eagle of the South and Tiger of the North to adversaries illustrates how political theater can outpace policy, leaving voters to decode who actually benefits from the clash. Why it matters. It underscores how dynastic politics can be both a unifying force and a destabilizing one, depending on whether the political economy requires alignment or leverage. Bigger trend. Politicians are increasingly judged not just by policy, but by the narrative arc they offer voters, with social media accelerating the tempo of loyalty tests. Core idea 3. Public perception, media, and accountability gaps. Commentary. The hearings being televised creates a feedback loop. Every courtroom moment becomes a public sentiment signal. The question isn't only whether she did X or Y, but how the audience processes it. Does it look like accountability or a political charade? What many people don't realize is that optics and timing can influence a jury. Public opinion can subtly tilt legislative behavior. If you look at it from a designer's lens, the spectacle is a strategic instrument as much as a procedure. Personal interpretation. Live-streamed hearings heighten risk for both sides. One misstep can become decades of narrative ammunition. Viewers aren't just spectators. They're jurors in the court of public opinion. Why it matters. It demonstrates how media ecosystems shape governance, potentially accelerating or delaying real consequences. Bigger trend. The line between political theater and formal legal process is blurring in many democracies, with real-world implications for accountability. Core idea 4. Possible outcomes and future implications. Commentary. The road to Senate trial is a crucible. A conviction would disqualify Duterte from pursuing the presidency in 2028, reshaping the field and emboldening Marcos' allies. If she survives, the specter of a 2028 run could intensify. My take. The outcomes are less about this specific case and more about how political calculation redefines long-term strategies for everyone involved. A detail I find fascinating is the poll numbers and 2025 midterms. These data points are the weather vane signaling which direction elite power blocks are leaning. Personal interpretation: elections are not just about then and there. They're about who can claim legitimacy to lead a country through a changing global landscape. Why it matters: the result could influence how future administrations marshal support, manage rivalries, and chart who sits in the most powerful seats. Bigger trend: in systems with strong dynastic roots, impeachment becomes a high-stakes power negotiation that can either cement or erase the governing narrative. Deeper insight: what this really suggests is that political capital in the Philippines is a currency that can appreciate or depreciate rapidly based on narratives, alliances, and media visibility. The Duterte-Marcos era shows how a coalition built on personal branding and regional identity can be extremely resilient, yet equally fragile when competing ambitions collide. This isn't just about one vice president. It's about how political ecosystems recalibrate when traditional power hierarchies are disrupted by real-time information and intensified scrutiny. Closing thought: the impeachment hearings are more than a legal procedure. They're a lens on how power is exercised, tested, and legitimized in a democracy that's constantly negotiating between tradition and transformation. If you had to watch one takeaway, it's this: in an era where dynasties collide with modern media, accountability becomes a deadline you never quite reach, and that deadline shapes every future vote, every future alliance, and every future headline. What do you think will reshape the Duterte-Marcos dynamic more: the legal outcome or the political narrative that surrounds it?